Go.
Okay. All right. So welcome to building block class number 2. I want to just go over some of the things that are the focus of this class and point out a few things so that you can get started and have some success with what you're doing here. So anyway, building block number 2 looks like this. It is this one. The whole purpose of the goal of this lesson or this block really is to learn how to read a chart. So it's very repetitive. There's a right side and a wrong side. So you're going to be working with a chart. So the pattern does not give you the directions of what you're doing written out. You're only working off of this chart right down here. So a couple of pointers about reading a chart. So first thing, a chart has, each symbol has 2 meanings. There's a right side and a wrong side. So as you're going along, a chart is going to be read for row 1 at the start from this opposite direction of what you normally read, and then row 2 comes back this way. So the directions, when it's a purl, or the dot references a purl on the right side and a knit on the wrong side. When you think about the right side, you know, the front of the stitch is a knit and then the back side is a purl. So you kind of have to get used to thinking of it that way. And it says all that in the book also. And there's also a video that I would recommend reading. She has the highlights on each of these patterns about the video lessons. They're very good videos. They're very helpful. So I would recommend watching that. That will explain it a little bit better too. She does a pretty clear job of explaining that. So you're going to go along and work off of the chart, and you've got your border done, and you start into the body of it. So you've got 48 stitches on your block, and the edge stitches are 4 and 4, so that leaves you 40 stitches for the center part of the block where the chart work kind of happens. And it's 10 stitches. So I'm going to recommend that you put stitch markers in. You've got your border edge stitches. This is not the block, obviously. This is an example of what the stitches are, your stitch markers are doing. So you've got say your border is right here. Then you've got 10 stitches and a marker, 10 stitches and a marker. And that's what you're going to follow with the chart. So that's a good way to double check if you're on track in the right direction. Doing it as you're supposed to be doing. What else was I going to mention about the charts? Something else. Let me think. Oh, one other thing to do is when you get your border done and you're starting on it, this is so similar, this block, that I would recommend putting a little marker, just hang one on there just to remind you that this is the right side. And the right side of a chart is always going to be the odd number of rows, and the wrong side is going to be the even number row. So that's just a little double check for you as well as you're working on this. And there's one other thing about chart reading that I was going to mention, and I lost it now. Anyway, that...
You'll remember it.
I'll remember.
While you're working, you'll probably remember it.
Probably. I've lost it now. So anyway, the other thing I was going to mention in this one is adding a new skein of yarn. Actually, I forgot my little sample for that. Darn. Sorry. Grab another strand of yarn. There could come a point where you're going to have to get into a second skein of yarn in this project. So what I would recommend doing, I'll just show you an example on here. The yarn is coming out right there. So I just take my new strand of yarn and I put it in the same spot where the yarn is coming out in the row below on the edge. Try to join on the edge if possible. Okay, we'll get this done here. Okay, if you just put it in the spot where the yarn's coming out.
Is that what you do?
That's what I do.
Huh.
And then I just pull the tail out and then start working with the new skein of yarn. Then I know it's coming from the same spot.
Oh, okay. That's a new one for me.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my little system I came up with years ago.
I love it.
I figured the tension would be better because it's coming from the same exact spot.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So
good idea.
that's what I would do, and try to do it on the edge if possible.
Right.
Working the right side. Oh, I know I was going to mention, when you're binding off, on all of these blocks, just as an FYI, when you get to the end of your block and you do that border on the top, that was the thing I was trying to remember. See, it came to me. Isn't that
I knew
good?
it would.
Eventually, as you do that top border, you know, the bottom border is 6 rows of seed stitch. The top row, you do 5 rows, and your 6th row is your bind off row coming at the end, just to point that out. And I think she mentions that, and the tips and techniques, I think she mentions that also. And when you're binding off, you want to bind off in pattern.
Which means?
Which means that you are going to continue the seed stitch pattern going. So you don't just knit the whole edge and bind it off. You knit one, purl one, and then do the bind off, and then knit one each time. So you're binding off, continuing, keeping the pattern as it was established in the block.
You dropped.
Okay. Okay, I think that might be all the pointers I wanted to make sure you cover. So again, watch the video lesson. And if you get stuck or have questions, you guys all have my phone number. You can call me or stop into the shop. Everybody here knows what's going on with it. And go ahead and get started so we can continue on and keep building our blocks. I'll see you soon.